Hi guys, how are you all doing? Hope you're great. Today's book will blow your mind. Imagine the transatlantic slave trade, aka the Middle Passage, aka the Triangular Trade. Imagine that, but in a way where instead of the slavers capturing Bisi, Adebola, Chukwudi, or Kinta Kunte, the slavers are actually named these names, and the people they're capturing are called John Smith, Doris Cagglethorpe, Lord Percival, Magpie of whatever manner. So, in this fantastic book by Bernardine Evaristo, she reimagines the transatlantic slave trade, and in this reimagination, it is not white people who perpetuate slavery, it is black and Asian people who are buying slaves from a place called Europa instead of Africa. So get ready, guys. Let's delve into Blonde Roots by Bernardine Evaristo. So, guys, in Blonde Roots, what we see is instead of black people being being the victims of the slave trade, we have white people struggling in a world dominated by black and Asian people. The Women's Prize for Fiction podcast describes this novel as a phenomenal book. It is so ingenious and so novel. I think The Handmaid's Tale means noughts and crosses with a bit of Jonathan Swift and Lewis Carroll thrown in it. It should be thought of as a feminist classic. Um, so imagine that the transatlantic slave trade was reversed, and that in sleepy villages in England and uh, in places in Iceland, in Australia, places with loads of white people, and everybody is afraid of leaving their homes, their cottages, to go outside because of slave raids, and these powerful black people are coming to take people away to go and work in their plantations, um, in their very powerful farms back in Africa, and they're taking people from Europa, and all the beauty standards that this Euro Eurocentric beauty standards do not hold any water. These slaves are told that they are ugly because their hair is too light. Um, they've got really small noses and small lips. They just don't meet up, the beauty standards, and all they can do, and they're not allowed to read or write or learn how to do that, and it's just hilarious and genius, this book by Benedict Evaristo. I mean, one of the things I've got on my bucket list right now is to meet this woman, just walk up to her and say, "Oh my God, you're a genius, Professor Evaristo." Because I've thought about this a lot of times, as I'm sure that a lot of black people have, even some white people, people who've actually sat down. Forgive me, I've got the flu, which is strange. Finally, there's great weather and I'm struggling to breathe. But I just couldn't wait to talk about this book. I finished reading this a month ago, and I have kept thinking about it over and over again. Like, this is fantastic. So the heroine of this fantastic novel is called Doris. She lives in a sleepy village in English, an English sleepy village, and her family sort of serves. They're serving and working the lands for this rich feudal lord, um, who ironically later is also taken into slavery. Um, and honestly, there's no way for me to pretend that the idea of seeing slavery reversed in this way does not give me a lot of things to think about. It's hilarious, extremely hilarious to me, especially how Everest tries to just change up things. I wish I could read all the portions for you that really did it for me, but I really want you to pick up this book and just read for yourselves. Oh my gosh. And, the funniest part is that Doris does try to escape. She's just a little girl when she was taken. She just went out to play, I think, and she was captured, and she's then taken to the New World. In a place where she is now serving in the household of Chief Katamba, one a very fierce and shrewd businessman who's been trading in slaves for a long time, and now she's serving them. First, she had to serve this other family, the Gilas, I think. She was supposed to be like a personal maid to their daughter, a little girl called Miracle, who was the actual person who taught Doris how to read and write. And now that Doris is in her new home, she's no longer going by the name Doris. I mean, the name sounds stupid to them. It sounds silly. So they've given her this name, Omero, whatever, really long Omore Nonwara, I think is the name. And I like how Everest just, makes a mix of different African names. It doesn't even matter where she says that a particular event is taking place. She does a mix of black and brown people. I think it's a place called West Japan in the New World. So, and just like a mix. So they give her this name, Omore Nonwara, and inside her head she's saying the name's Doris Thorpe, actually. Now you try and pronounce that. She's protesting because this little mistress is trying to understand how to pronounce her name, that her family news their family's giving her. And finally, this girl teaches her how to read. And when they become teenagers, one day she's so angry, she starts to write. I hate Little Miracle. She's this, she's that. And Little Miracle sees this, invites her to go have a stern discussion about what she's done. She's going to send her away to become a prostitute in the city. And then, what do you know? Doris is so annoyed, she pushes Little Miracle and she drowns. And her family just thinks it was just a horrible, horrible misfortune because Little Miracle was down with malaria for some time. She probably has left the house to get some fresh air, and now she's drowned in the rain or whatever. And that's when Doris is sent to the Kitambas, and this is where we see her trying to escape. She's even working in the offices, doing their books because she can read and write, which is rare for slaves. And when she tries to escape and the escape does not work out as planned, Kitamba captures her again. He then takes her to an island to work to work the plantations, to work in a place where they turn sugarcane into all sorts of things, rum and whatnot. I mean, a part of this book just makes you cry, but the fact that you're reading it in such a way that the people who are going through this stuff are not black people. People, when they thought, oh, yeah, they're strong, they're supposed to be strong to exist. I like, however, it shows the frailty, I mean, it's such a hard book to read at times, but it's really hilarious, I think, which is what she actually did to make it readable. And some places she obviously over exaggerates. Some of the things, like when she describes how white women were doing their hair to blend into the black societies where they've not found themselves. And then when Katamba himself is writing a sort of, slave journal where he's talking about why he's ventured into this business, why he thinks that these Europa people are supposed to do this. Because, I mean, what is their purpose in life apart from working for us, And, I mean, and then some are more human than others, So to Europa people, they're not really as human. It's just like a reversal of everything that's been said about black people. The weird scientific findings of the earlier centuries where they talked about the size of the brain of black people and how they tried to say that black people were closer to primates and stuff, and white people were the superior race and all of that. So Evariste reimagines all of that in such a way that it is white people who are uh, well, they're like at the bottom of the food chain after black people's very well uh, established, powerful brains. Then you get the Asians, and then and the very, very bottom of the pyramid, you will then find the white people. So, and then there's just lots of hilarity, sort of hilarious ways of, proving all of this. And then the fighting back, the protests, the trying to, the running away, and how it was difficult for these slaves to escape, and how some of them just, just sort of accepted their fate, and they're not trying to run away anymore. They're not trying to do anything, and I like how in the end there's a postscript where we then find out what has happened to everybody else. I mean, the hardest part for me was realizing that Doris has spent all these years just thinking about her family, her sisters, her father, her mom, and without even knowing that just a few months, I think, after she's taken, her entire family were taken as well, and her father died aboard a slave ship. He didn't make it into the New World. Her mother as well, who was frail, and and then her sisters. The only sister, I think, her elder sister, was the only one she saw again, because aboard that first slave ship that Katamba led, he took a liking to her and took her as his mistress aboard the slave ship, and she has children, lots and lots of children for him, and he then takes her to one of his plantations, and she lives out a life of sort of luxury, which is something, of course, that happened during slavery. There were women, black women, especially mixed race black women, women with good hair, women with good skin and whatnot. There was the issues of colorism just started a long time ago, and some of that started during slavery. Some of these women were taking as mistresses. Even one famous American president had one of those women having children for him, and he just did not claim those children, because until so many years later, when we then start to hear about what was actually going on. So something like that happened to Doris's elder sister, and then in the end, she comes face to face with that sister again. And it was such a reunion to even think that her nephews were the biracial kids running around giving orders in the plantation, because they're not really slaves like all the other slaves. They were a bit different because their mother had a place of favor before Bwana from the Katamba. Anyway, so this novel is fantastic, honestly. I highly recommend it. I think everybody should read it, like I always say, but this is really brilliant reading. For black people, what it does, it gives you a good laugh, and it gives you an idea of looking at what happened, all these histories of trauma, and then detaching yourself from it and looking at it as if it happened to someone else. And then it's just something it does, it gives you a clear perspective, and just sort of makes you just appreciate what the ancestors went through. And for white people, I think it gives you a clearer perspective as well, to look at what has been done to other people as if it was done to you, and then to just sort of not only solidarity, I think, but to tell yourself the truth of, I know there's hardly anybody alive now who bought any slaves, but to just understand that history by asking yourself the question, what if this happened to us, really? And then to actually just understand how humanity, trumps everything else. I think is a very, very important read for everyone, young people, older people, no matter what race you're from, and no matter what you identify as. The truth is, novels like these, as all literature, really just opens up discussions about the way of the world, and just opens our eyes to, to our world, really, to just take a closer look and just to see what would have happened if it didn't happen the way that it did. And honestly, Bernadine Bristow, she's freaking awesome. Anyway, guys, just if you want to discuss more, just read it and let me know your thoughts, and ask me any questions that you have. I will see if I can get a written review up on the website www.streamsofbank.com. But if not, and you're interested in this novel and you want to discuss further, please just get in touch. Please comment, leave your thoughts, and please share. And if you haven't done that also already, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate all of the new people who are just joining us. If this is the first time you're watching any of my videos, please subscribe and leave a message or a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.